Now in this video, we're going to be looking at some graph examples for parallel and perpendicular lines. So we're going to use slopes to determine whether these lines are parallel, perpendicular, or neither. It is tempting to just look at this first one and say, okay, that's perpendicular. It looks like it's a 90-degree angle. But we can't be verifying just based on sight. We need to look at the slopes to verify that it's actually perpendicular. Okay, so I want to first start with finding the slope of the blue line, and I see I have some points given here. Remember that the slope is rise over run. So to get from my bottom point to my top point, I have to rise 1, 2, 3. Over, and I go to the right 1. So my first slope is 3 over 1. I'm going to go ahead and leave this in fraction form since I am going to have to determine whether they are opposite reciprocals. So I'm going to need it in that form. Now I'm going to find the slope of my red line. And so for my red line, I also have this shared point with the blue. And so I need first to see how much I rise. So to get from this point to this point, I see I go up 1. And then I see I go to the left, 1, 2, 3. And since I'm going left, that's going to be -3. Now I need to determine whether this means it's parallel, perpendicular, or neither. Well, it's not parallel because these aren't the same. But I see first, I notice that they're opposite slopes. My first one's positive, my second one is negative. And then I also see that they're reciprocals because I have 3 over 1. And this becomes 1 over 3. And so because this red slope is the opposite sign and it's flipped from the blue, that's going to make this one perpendicular. Okay, let's try this next one. So I'm going to start with finding the slope of my blue line. And so to get from this point to this point, I rise 2. And then I go left 1. Now to find the slope of my red line, I see I go up 1, 2. And then I go to the right 1, 2. Which if I simplify that, that's really the same thing as 1 over 1, which is just equal to 1. So now I determine whether this is parallel, perpendicular, or neither. Well, it's not parallel because these aren't the same slopes. This is really going to be -2, where this is just 1. And then I see they are opposite signs. One's positive, the other's negative. However, they're not reciprocals. This bottom one really needed to be 1/2. So since it's not the same slope, they're not opposite reciprocals, that means that this one's neither. These two lines just intersect each other. Okay, go ahead and pause the video. I want you to try and do number 3. So for number 3, you should have gotten that the slope of the blue line was 4 over 2, which just reduces to 2. And the slope of the red line was 2 over 1, which also reduces to 2. And so I see I ended up with the same slope. And so when I get the same slope, that means that this is parallel. Okay, now this last one, I noticed that I have a vertical line and a horizontal line. And what we learned from that first video is that vertical and horizontal lines are always perpendicular. So the answer for this last one is perpendicular.